Now, though, Exposure investigates the other side to Jimmy Saville. This programme contains descriptions of sexual abuse.
For more than 40 years, Sir Jimmy Saville was a show business friend of the establishment. A friend of the rich and famous, even of prime ministers and royalty. He was celebrated for his charity work and famed for his TV programmes, most of them featuring children. But tonight, Exposure investigates allegations that away from the cameras, Sir Jimmy Saville was far from a genial eccentric. He stands accused of being a sexual predator, charged with at times preying on the very teenagers he invited to appear on his BBC TV shows.
Jim didn't do kissing, he didn't do emotion or foreplay or anything. It was just basically what he wanted in and out, and that was it.
He hadn't restrained himself just to my breast. He'd also had a good fumble around in my knickers.
Looking back, I think, oh my God, he actually raped me.
Now, for the first time, we explore the other side of Jimmy Saville. These were the scenes at Sir Jimmy Saville's funeral following his death last year. The streets of Leeds were packed with mourners who wanted to pay their respects to a national institution. The gold-coloured coffin was typical of the showman and entertainer who during his life helped raise an estimated £40 million for good causes. But we've discovered evidence of another Jimmy Saville, a man who mourners at his funeral would find almost impossible to recognise. While Saville was still alive, he was surrounded by gossip about his private life. In a BBC documentary with filmmaker Louis Theroux in 2000, he was asked specifically about speculation that he was a paedophile.
So why do you say in interviews that you hate children when I've seen you with kids and you clearly enjoy their company and you have a good rapport with them?
Right. Obviously I don't hate them, that's number one.
So why would you say that then?
Because we live in a very funny world. And it's easy for me as a single man to say, I don't like children, because that puts a lot of salacious tabloid people off the hunt.
Are you basically saying that so tabloids don't, pursue this whole isn't he a paedophile line, basically?
Yes. All right. How do they know whether I am or not? How does anybody know whether I am? Nobody knows whether I am or not. I know I'm not.
But was there more to that denial than meets the eye?
Ho, ho, ho.
It seems Saville's death has been a trigger for some of those who feared him during his life to finally find the courage to speak out. I'm Mark Williams-Thomas. I'm a child protection specialist. But for 12 years I served with Surrey Police. I started the investigation into music mogul Jonathan King. Back in 2001 he was jailed for 7 years for sexual offences committed against underage boys. Now, for almost a year, I've been investigating Saville. Back in 1978 he was at the height of his fame. He was also a regular presenter on Top of the Pops. And he was pulling in 15 million viewers on a Saturday night with Jim Will Fix It. In Leeds, he also had his own regional show, Jimmy Saville's Yorkshire Speakeasy. Each week, guests were invited into the studio to discuss a different subject. Sue Thompson was a newsroom assistant in BBC Leeds at the time. One day, Sue, then aged 23, says she was asked if she could help out on the Speakeasy show. On this occasion, the invited studio audience included children.
I stayed behind to help, and I also set up the dressing room for Saville during the day. He wanted dandelion and burdock and cigars that he wanted, specific cigars, which I had to go into Leeds to get. and I believe there was a bunch of flowers in there as well. It was just a small dressing room which we set up. I went back down to the dressing room because I wanted to make sure it was either empty or whether it needed tidying up. And I recall it was a very short walk from the bar to the actual room, and I walked in. Didn't expect, actually, didn't really know whether anybody was going to be in there or what I would see. And I opened the door and I walked in, and Saville was sat in the chair with the right side of his body facing me. And there was a girl of about 14 with long brown hair, sat on his knee. He had his left arm up her skirt, and he was kissing her, but what I distinctly remember, and that's the image that sticks in my mind, was the fact, as I opened the door, he turned his head, and it was just his tongue that was just sort of coming out of her mouth that stuck in my mind. It was that image, so it wasn't just like a peck on the cheek that she jumped on his knee and sort of done it spontaneously. It was a definite sexual advance to this girl. And at the time, and thinking about it since, I think there was a certain element of shock and as to actually whether I'd actually seen what I saw. He made no particular reaction. He didn't jump up or try and stop me leaving the room or anything. And I was a bit disorientated afterwards. I remember closing the door, and then I went to find my colleague and told him what had happened, and he sort of laughed about it, really, and nothing else was really said.
You were in no doubt of what you saw?
Absolutely not. I've no doubt at all what I saw. And in actual fact, I can still see the girl's face and what she was wearing at the time.
Just hours later, Sue says she and the rest of the team headed to the cinema for a night out. Saville, who was 51 at the time, was due to visit Leeds General Infirmary that night. But first he too went to the cinema. He made a point of sitting next to Sue. Did you read anything into the fact that he came and sat next to you in the cinema?
I think he was checking me out, because he didn't stay long. I mean, why actually come to the cinema and only spend, say, maybe 10, 15 minutes there and then leave, make a big play about, oh, I've got to go now, I'm going to work as a porter at the LGI. Why make that point? Why didn't he just go straight to the LGI or just go straight home? There was almost like he came to the cinema for a reason, which was to just check me out, I think.
Sue left the BBC a year later, but she says the incident she witnessed over 30 years ago has stayed with her. How difficult a decision is it for you to speak out about what you saw?
I would have said something before if I'd have had the courage or the conviction that perhaps something would have done about it. But it has been difficult to speak about it, just because of who Jimmy Saville was. I don't think I ever saw him have any bad publicity, and I think that's the overriding thing. Everybody saw him as Sir Jimmy, the great charity worker, etc. And it's like you're saying, oh no, he's not. This is what I saw. And it's a case of you're just one person in millions standing up and saying, actually, no. But it's that fear of people probably not believing you.
We believe tapes of the Speakeasy programme from 1978 no longer exist. We haven't been able to access programme records and so have no way of identifying the girl. But Sue believes that the girl was around 14 and that she was sexually assaulted. My investigation would lead me to other people with similar stories to tell.